Got it. Got him. This is the first OLIP post CM Punk's return.
That's right.
All right. Let's hit record. Count us down. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. Today is Monday, August 23rd, and we are back after a few weeks off that actually seemingly helped the New York Yankees. The OLIP crew is here to break it all down. I'm Julian Coltree, joined alongside, as always, the dynamic duo, Josh Levin.
What up, what up?
And Eric Ray Sepulveda.
How's it going, everyone?
Should be going great. It's the first podcast for us in a little bit over 10 days at this point. And you know what? The fact is, maybe we should have taken off from doing OLIP sooner, which E-Ray definitely believes, because the New York the New York Yankees during our absence have gone on a win streak that pretty much coincided with our last episode. We came back and did the pod the day after the Baltimore Orioles beat them 2 weeks ago, and now they're on a win streak ever since that moment, pretty much.
Yep. I mean, they lost one game after that, right? At the Field of Dreams, but other than that, it's been all wins. So yeah, I mean, talk about a turnaround. Geez, I mean, how much fun is this now?
It's unbelievable. I mean, it's for the 2021 New York Yankees. I don't think you could say that there has been a moment in the season in which they've played as good baseball as this, but have been as entertaining and fun. Now it almost feels like they step on the field and have a chance to win every game, as opposed to what it did feel like earlier in the year, which is as soon as they step on the field, they lost.
Yeah, I mean, literally every time. I mean, today we're versing a very good team, but every time I want to turn them on every night, I expect them to win. And like you said, Jules, that's so different. Man, I mean, we're just so happy now. You know what I mean? Like, this is the team.
At a loss for words.
Yeah, it really is, because this is the team that we expected. And when, again, you can go back to that July 4th date where we lost that first game. I think Chapman blew it against the Mets. And then it's like, wow, this season really is toast. And then they had some heartbreakers after that with the Altuve that we all shared together in that bar. And just like all of a sudden, man, where they're on a 9-game winning streak, and I don't want to say they're doing well right now. I'm not going to say they're back, because there's still a big week ahead of us, and I don't want to, get ahead of
At least you're not saying they're back, because I'm pretty sure I've tweeted they're back at least 6 times during this win streak.
I think you tweet they're back every inning now at this. No.
Yeah, you're right. I do.
Hey, listen, again, we deserve to be angry with this damn team.
Yes.
In a couple months. Like, no one can say, like, I don't care about the positive Yankee fans saying, like, oh, we always knew they were going to come back. No, like, we didn't know. And they finally made the moves. And now, hey, guys, we can be happy now. We can still be angry back then and still be happy now.
Yeah.
This is our team. We all want the same thing. And yeah, man, life is good right now as a Yankee. And I hope it continues.
I just want to say too, like, because I see and I hear a lot of stuff about that, how, the Yankee fans, they were so upset, and now look at everything. It's like, you are allowed to have an opinion on something in the moment, and then also recognize that it could change, and that the fact that, it did change doesn't mean that we were wrong. The numbers backed up what all of us said, what all the Yankee fans were thinking at, the first couple months of the season. The numbers backed it up. They were a bad, boring team to watch. And yes, the turnaround started before the trade deadline, but make no mistake, if they hadn't made the moves that they did, meaning Rizzo and Gallo, this isn't happening. And they said it themselves. Like, the Yankees have said it themselves. Those moves injected something into the team that they didn't have before. They needed something else, something new and fresh in the clubhouse, in the dugout, and in the lineup, obviously. And they've gotten it. And you see it when, you watch the games. You see how the balanced lineup affects the other teams and the other managers' pitching moves. You see that they're not as easy to pitch to as they were in April and May and June and part of July. So, like, I'm allowed to be happy now, and I'm also I was also allowed to be angry a few months ago. And it's the same, you know, the complaints and the issues that popped up over the past months aren't suddenly, you know, something that never happened. It's all part of the journey. And
Yeah.
you know, if you're invested into the team and you watch what you saw, you know, you saw what we all saw. There's no way to sit there and tell yourself and try to convince yourself that this is good. You might be able to say like, I believe that they will turn it around, and I believe, you know, that there are better days ahead. And if you're one of those people, credit to you, because I wasn't one of those guys. But at the same time, like I can also recognize the fact that, you know, I don't think that they're in this position if they didn't make changes. And that's all we were saying. The whole beginning part of the season was something needs to change. They need to shake something up. They need to spice it up. And that's what they did. And now here we are.
It's a situation where the New York Yankees are thankful that they were able to buy at the trade deadline, because if they didn't, then the situation probably would have presented itself in which it didn't get better. And look, the fact is, you don't really have to look much further than what's happening across town in New York with the New York Mets, in the situation that this is a team that is built upon players who offensively were supposed to hit better than they were. The New York Yankees did not hit for the first, 3 months of this year. Their offense really, up until maybe the last 4 or 5 days, hasn't been consistently putting the product out there that we want to see. But they were able to make those moves to reinforce the lineup, and they went out there and they were buyers at the deadline. And that was what was able to fuel what has been their resurgence here in the second half. But it very well could have gone a complete opposite way when push really comes to shove. But that said, it should be a happy pod. We want to be a happy pod. And let's talk about this win streak, because that really has been the biggest story for the New York Yankees over the week. So what we're going to do is we're going to look at the win streak as a whole, because it's been a few weeks since we've been able to do a pod. That way we can talk about the series that went by. And then I want to focus on some of the key players, because the fact is these wins have been much more than just an Aaron Judge or a Giancarlo Stanton big game. They've been brought to you by a number of players, whether it's been their 2 very good hitting first basemen now, the backup shortstops that have been playing the role of offensive dynamite, or even just some players in the outfield who are doing a good job. So we will get to that, but let's start with the conversation regarding the win streak as a whole. Because when we did the pod last, they had a series that ended against Baltimore, and then they were going on the road to take on the Chicago White Sox. And in those first 2 games of that series, it could have gotten a little dicey, because they had yet again another heartbreaking loss in the Field of Dreams game. But they come back there and are able to win that series against Chicago. And that propels them into the week that they had to do with the makeup game against the Anaheim Angels, and then the doubleheader against Boston, and then the day game against Boston the next day.
Yeah, and I think you know, that would be a good time. I mean, we don't have to get into the nitty gritty of these games because they are, you know,
yeah, of course,
couple weeks old. But I just want to say that, like, something that we talked about a lot was how, you know, Aaron Boone would say after those heartbreaking defeats about how, you know, the team was really good with adversity and they would get back up. And, you know, we kind of made fun of those comments because it was like, yeah, you know, they get back up and they win and then they do it again. So it's like, is that really dealing with adversity? But I do have to say that he's right about that, because I think other teams would have crumbled under, you know, those sorts of losses. And the fact that they have continued to happen, obviously, is very frustrating. But I'm not sure that you could blame that on anything really. Instead of, maybe it's just some bad luck, maybe a little bit of poor execution too, but like, they've dealt with it. And so I think when it really hit me was when they lost the Field of Dreams game in such heartbreaking fashion, and then they haven't lost since. So it's like, okay, that was another one of those gut punches. And then how did they respond? Well, they've won every single game they've played since, and now they're in the middle of a game against the Braves, another team who have won 9 in a row. So yeah, I mean, like, the fact that all of this has spurned from another crushing, soul defeating loss, I think is a sign of the team's toughness. And look at all the close games they play. Like, they play 2 and 1 run games almost on a daily basis, and they do well in them for the most part.
Yeah.
So that, you know, is putting them in tough situations, situations that you would find in playoff games, close games, late in games. and they're handling it well. And so for me now, I'm starting to look at it as completely different as what I did before. And I'm looking at this now as something that gives me hope for the remainder of the season and hopefully a run in October. Is look at all these close, tough games they've played in, especially late in the season with the hole they dug themselves in. There's a lot of pressure. These games are very important games. These aren't just, any regular run of the mill game. Like, these are games that they needed to win, and they've done it. And so that makes me confident going into the, going into the rest of the season about what this team could possibly do.
Yeah, and I mean, again, when the Field of Dreams game happened, and I think like Jules and I were messaging. I mean, we were pissed off that our Jules boy Stanton didn't get his big moment because I mean,
they did him dirty.
They did do him dirty, and they always do, right? But when Tim Anderson hit that home run and we lost heartbreakingly again, I was pissed for like 5 minutes, but then I was like, we were used to this. And guys, I think that we haven't mentioned these three words in a while because it's been that bad, but I think we can mention it again. 2021 season, everything that's happening, it has to be for the 2021, it's 4 words, World Series DVD.
Oh God.
We haven't said it, right?
I don't want to say it because I'm pretty sure once I got into the motions of saying that early on, that's when all the bad stuff happened. So I haven't brought it up.
If this week goes bad, we won't say it.
Yeah, then we won't say it again. But you brought it up. But you're right. You're right, because the fact is, at least over the last few weeks, the second half World Series DVD where they talk about the trade deadline, bringing in Rizzo, bringing in Gallo, bringing up the guys from the minor leagues. This is going to be the heart of that 2021 World Series Yankeeography that they do. It's going to be big time.
No, but yeah. And again, what Josh said, especially okay, they lost that first game against the White Sox, but then that Saturday game against the White Sox, literally Chad Green blew it with 2 outs.
Yep.
And that could have been a moment where they could have lost another big game, but they bounced back, won it in extra innings. Then they finished the series again on Sunday. And then in the Boston game, bases loaded, nobody out. They were on the verge of blowing another game, and Loaisiga buckled down and got out of that inning. And that was that. Then they won the second night of that game, and then they ended up sweeping the Red Sox after losing a team for the first half of the season has owned you, especially a couple weeks ago in Boston where I was there, and they took 3 out of 4 from you, literally the same after the deadline, and that famous game with Herman where he lost a no-hitter, and then they lost that game in another heartbreaking way, and then they took care of business as they always do against the Minnesota Twins, which, guys, I don't know about you, but if the Yankees played the Twins 162 games, that would be a phenomenal night every night. Because, man, if I was a Twins fan or even a Twins player, and I'm going into Yankee Stadium or even when the Yankees come home, it's like you really don't expect to win when you're the man. It's been a crazy couple decades, honestly, against the Twins. We just owned them. So they took care of business against the Twins. And, yeah, they have 2 big games today and tomorrow, and another big series this weekend. But, yeah, man, the last 9 games, last 2 weeks have been phenomenal. The Yankees are doing exactly what they're doing. And it's actually surprising for me to see, as I told you guys, you probably looking at it too. When you look at the standings, they're tied with the White Sox and only 1 game worse than the Astros, 2 teams that have been dominating this whole season. And it's like, man, the Yankees have been so bad, but this recent stretch has just put them all the way back to the top right now. And it's kind of crazy to see, man.
We almost buried the lead because the fact is that the standings is obviously the most important thing right now, with the fact that the New York Yankees are in first place in a wild card and only 4.5 entering tonight, Monday, out of first place in the division. And as good as they've been, Tampa's obviously been just as good to keep them at bay. But when you consider that the beginning of July, and we've all seen the standings, they were 10.5 back of the Boston Red Sox, who were at the time in first place, and they were almost 5, I think, out of the wild card. They were able to make up all that ground and be able to put that there. And look, you hope that the result is the same, but it is sort of starting to remind me of 2009, where they went 0-8 against Boston. They weren't able to buy a win in those first handful of games there. They did not play good at the beginning of the year. And then obviously they come on strong in the second half. They wound up winning the division. They wound up obviously going on to win the World Series, but it looked at as if by time the second half came, by time the second part of the summer rolled around, they figured out how to win the close games that they were losing. And right now you look at the series against Boston where, you know what, their offense showed up, but it wasn't with big homers. It was with some big hits, especially in that first game. It was a 1-run game late or a close game late where both of the bullpen pitchers who pitched, whether it was Green or whether it was Loizaga, had to work. And then they were able to find a way to be able to do what they needed to do to take advantage of 3 games that they not only needed to win, but you wanted to win, and that's as good as you can get from that perspective.
I think a lot of times with baseball, like you really only pay attention to your division, or if you're in the wild card race, you pay attention to that. That's kind of how it's been for us. You look at the American League, the Yankees have the 3rd best record in the American League now. They're only a game behind Houston for the 2nd best record in the entire league. So you look at where they were, 6-7 weeks ago compared to what they are now. It kind of happened in the blink of an eye, almost to the point where, you kind of don't even realize that, the fact they're 20 games over 500. They lost to the Mets. They were 41-41. And ever since then, they've played 20 games above 500. What's remarkable is that, as well, the Yankees have played, especially the last few weeks, that the Rays have kept pace with them, so that's been frustrating to see that the Yankees haven't really been able to gain much ground in the division. But right now, like I told you guys this, I think it was 2 weeks ago when the Rays played the Red Sox, and the Rays obviously in first place in the division, the Red Sox in first place in the wild card. I told you guys, we have to root for the Rays because we got to get the wild card first before we can worry about the division. And right now, that's the position that the Yankees are in. So we're scoreboard watching the Red Sox every day, every night, and hoping for the Rays, and hoping for a loss because, we've got the wild card in our back pocket. We've got a huge series against Oakland coming up this weekend, who's right behind us. But after that, we have our sights set on the Rays. And so that's what we really want. But right now, I'm just happy that they're in playoff position. They've got me now thinking about October baseball, which was something that I wouldn't let myself do for the first 3-4 months of the season. But now here we are, late August. I'm thinking about October. I'm dreaming about those chilly nights in the Bronx, or sitting on the couch while they're on the road, stressing out, losing my mind with every pitch. And I'm ready for that. And I want that.
I'm dreaming about them losing on my birthday again, baby. Keep it coming. This year's the big 30. Let's have a big. Oh God, I don't even. No, but yeah, Josh. I mean, what exactly they did from that July 4th or 5th date, a few 6 weeks ago, whatever, is that the Yankees, little slowly, they were winning series, right?
Yeah, that's what we said. Stack the series.
Just win series, and then we're like, we need that big win streak, though. They winning 3, but losing 1, then losing 2, then winning 2. But they were still winning series, but we wanted that long win streak. And that win streak happens, and it's happening now, and it's propelled them, like you said, all the way to the top, to the 3rd best record.
9 straight, baby. 9
straight, and hopefully we keep it going. Of course, they're versing a team today that has a 9-game winning streak. And kind of, guys, the Braves who we're facing today, they were
similar situation.
Where they were like kind of dead in the water. Should they sell? And I'll tell you right now, yes, I was in early July. Again, that 4th of July weekend, man, for all of us was just a disaster. And it's like, this team's going nowhere. And it's like, yeah, I was team sell. I was team sell since probably May or June, because it just didn't look like it was going.
They literally lost 14-0 the day before the trade deadline. So
that too.
As if they didn't need to sell, at least on paper.
But also in a way, it was like, there's so many holes on this team. Is there really 1 or 2 moves that can kind of change the whole dynamic of this team? And honestly, I was wrong. It did happen. But we also didn't think we were going to get Anthony Rizzo, which has been a big dynamic of that lineup. So, yeah, Gallo and Rizzo and even Holmes, these moves have kind of changed the whole dynamic of the team and has propelled us all the way to the top of the standings. and on this win streak. So yeah, I was wrong in July. I'm happy I was wrong.
But
he's irrelevant, and they're giving us something to root for going into the next couple months.
I'm glad you bring that up because that's a perfect transition point. Because the fact is, the New York Yankees pretty much since July 4th or July 31st, the trade deadline, could not have been where they are without a handful of guys. Now, two of them, obviously, right off the bat, are Anthony Rizzo and Joey Gallo, because offensively, they have completely allowed the New York Yankees to lengthen their lineup. Josh mentioned it earlier. You see now that when you have two lefties in the first five hitters to help out DJ and help out Aaron Judge,
and not just any lefties, Stanton, good lefties.
And you have good lefties at the top of the order, it makes pitchers work. It makes them go out there and have to throw good pitches. Gallo takes a ton of pitches and works good at bats. Rizzo takes a ton of pitches and works good at bats. They both have lefty power. That helps out the team. So it obviously starts there. And for the Yankees, we know what it meant to do that. But the other guy that we have to give credit to is Luke Voit, because last time that we were on this podcast was right when Anthony Rizzo went down with COVID. And we talked all about what Anthony Rizzo had brought to this team those first 2 days that he was there. And I said, Voit wants to talk a big game. Rizzo's out. He's got to be a guy who steps up big. And you know what? Not only did he step up big when Anthony Rizzo was out with COVID, now that he's back, everybody was talking about him making a fool out of himself, saying how he thought he deserved to play as much as Rizzo did. Well, you know what? Wasn't that big of a fool, because right now he just won AL Player of the Month. He's been that good.
Yeah, I mean, so with the Voit thing, like, I don't think anybody really, I mean, at least out of the three of us, really was arguing against him being in the lineup, even, at a full strength with Rizzo there, after COVID. I don't think any of us were saying that he should be on the bench or anything like that. I think we all believe then and now that the best lineup they can put out there is the one with Stanton in the outfield and Voit at DH, with Rizzo obviously playing first. So,
yep.
We've gotten like a couple glimpses of it. They haven't really pulled it out of their bag yet. And I wouldn't expect them to really do that until the postseason. I think they'll do their rest thing where one guy gets a day off pretty much every day, which is fine. But I think, to get back to it, like, obviously Voit should want to play, right? Like, there's no reason for him to come to the podium after games and stuff and say like, yeah, it's fine. I don't mind, I don't mind not playing. But it's the thing that bothered me was he didn't need to bring up Rizzo too. Like, he could have just said, yeah, like, I want to,
especially after you sweep the Red Sox in a doubleheader.
Like, I want to, and I don't think it really created controversy or anything. And I don't think it was a detrimental thing that he said. And obviously he backed it up with his play the last week, but I think he could have just said like, I want to play, and hopefully, Booney will get me in the lineup as much as possible because I just want to win. I don't think he needed to say I deserve to play as much as Rizzo, because listen, from a pure first base standpoint, no, you don't, because he's a better fielder than you are, but you deserve to be in the lineup every day, and you will be in the lineup, except tonight in the National League Park. But
I don't think he didn't say I deserve to play first base. Like, he just
he said I deserve to play as much as Rizzo, and I think the thing that bothered people and the controversy of it is mentioning another guy's name. I don't think you need to say that. Yeah, I think you could just say, I want to play. I hope I'm in the lineup every day. I believe I deserve to be in the lineup every day, and I want to win. So,
I know there was I forgot who it was, but I know like there was talk about like someone on WFAN said he should get benched for that. That was
It was Kim Jones who was filling in for
that's clearly
Maggie
ridiculous.
Gray.
Imagine if we benched him, he wouldn't have won AL Player of the Week and helped us win some games.
But that is truly the issue. Is all that aside, last week he was absolutely a man possessed. I don't want to say single-handedly led them to wins, but he almost single-handedly led them to wins because of how good he was offensively, especially against the Twins.
Yeah, and I mean, if this is what we needed, I know a lot of us like Yankee fans, like when we got Rizzo, or like because we were just hungry to get more pieces that can help this team, right? It's like, okay, Luke Voit. I mean, we love what you did last year, but you've been really injury riddled this year. Like, if we can trade you for something else, then why not do it, right? But now he's proven us wrong, man. And he's proven that he deserves to be in this lineup, and he could be a big part of this team. And again, listen, if you're in this lineup and you're going to hit, then we want you on there.
Giancarlo just hit a home run.
Let's go, your boy. And exactly that.
Live.
Giancarlo has played better while
Nothing.
And he has. And that's not a coincidence. It's not a surprise.
Yep. He's
And
hitting over 300 since
and we talked
being an
about
everyday
it,
fielder.
We said, like, I think we've all agreed that it was a Yankee thing. Because,
It was
like,
a Yankee thing.
Giancarlo would play the field. They were just like, I understand, very cost for them. They were babying him. But now with Luke Voit and Anthony Rizzo, it's like you can't baby Stanton because you're not going to leave Luke Voit on the bench. You're going to have to make it work. So,
and you're in a heated race, too.
Yeah.
You're in a heated race. So these guys have to play.
I'm not sure if you actually heard, but a few days ago on WFAN, Craig Carton had Adam Silver on, and Adam Silver was talking about rest days for players and, load management, that sort of thing. And he used to talk about how, nowadays with sports science, a lot of people say like, oh, you want them to not go through the routine and stuff like that as a day off. But he said that he remembered talking to Michael Jordan, who used to say that Michael Jordan felt that if he took a day off from practice, he would get hurt because of how his body was conditioned and how he wanted to win. So it almost makes you think that maybe on paper, while the Yankees might say to themselves, like, yes, you're giving him less stuff to do and therefore his body won't be as brittle, that it just almost makes sense that now that he has to actively stay active 24/7, he has to keep himself on work in the outfield. He has to make sure that his body is in good shape because he's going to be running and doing stop motions, that he probably would be in a little better shape and wouldn't get these soft tissues issues as much, knock on wood, right?
Yeah, I mean, remember, was it last year when he started going on the bike in the tunnel in between?
I think it was right near the playoffs.
Yeah, and so that was a sign to me that it was like, the only way that I'm going to stay ready and healthy and fresh is if my body's moving, because I'm a pro athlete and that's what I'm used to doing. I was in the major leagues for almost 10 years playing the outfield every day in the National League, and like, I get it. The Yankees are invested in him for a very long time. And he, got hurt a lot in 2019, missed a lot of games, multiple injuries, carried over a little bit to last year. So they were scared. And I get that. But at a certain point, you kind of see the writing on the wall. You kind of can tell that, like, maybe they need to try something else because, as we said, like, things don't work. You need to try new things, try different things. And you also, I feel like this is where we get into that conversation of, like, everything has a heartbeat, like the numbers and stuff. The science tells you, the rest is important. Keep him fresh, keep him healthy. But at the same time, what is his body saying? You know?
Absolutely. Yeah. I agree.
And what's great about this is now, how deep, of course, when all these guys come back, hopefully healthy, it's like how deep our bench is and how deep this lineup is that you can give these guys this rest. Of course, now it's not, we're hoping they're not going to get in that rest because they're in the middle of a playoff race, but you can sprinkle some one-day games here and there where they're, throughout the week where they can, like, refuel and stuff like that. So, yeah, man, I still just, I wake up sometimes and I still think, God damn, Jay Bruce and Mike Ford work.
Yep. Jay Bruce was the opening day first baseman. And
now we have, Anthony Rizzo and Luke Voit and stuff. I mean,
you're right.
There early on, but he was hurt all the time. But, man.
All right, let's give credit to another New York Yankee who has been doing a good job on the offensive side of things. And look, us three would be the first people to say that this person for a majority of their Yankee career has been absolutely awful, and that is Tyler Wade. But the fact is, Tyler Wade over the last, maybe not a month, but at least the last 10, 15 days since Gleyber Torres went down with an injury, has performed incredibly well. He is hitting the ball. He is playing great defense, which we expect from a guy who plays a majority of positions for them, and they need it, especially the outfield and third base. And, he's getting on base, he's swiping bags, and he's helping to pace the offense in a way that they desperately need. So the fact is, as soon as Gleyber got hurt, you kind of assumed he was going to play a lot, especially with Gio out. But he's taking advantage of the opportunities.
Oh, he sure is. And he's showing that he, belongs. And it makes you think, if he had gotten that opportunity in the past to play as much as he's played, if this would have happened sooner. And obviously we're not saying that, like, the Yankees were wrong for keeping him on the bench all these years. Like, he's not as good as, the guys that they have ahead of him on the depth chart. But at the same time, we were sitting here, 5 weeks ago, 6 weeks ago, saying, why is he in the major leagues? And now we're sitting here saying this guy is a very important part of the team, and I don't know where they would be without him the last few weeks, you know?
Yeah.
And not only that, but like just from like an entertainment perspective, like he's fun to watch when he's hitting because he will like slap balls. He'll slap balls to the opposite field. He'll pull some balls. He'll do those little bunts down the third baseline. He steals bases. He's taking an extra bag. He's a threat to run at any moment. Like if he gets on first base, you might as well just let him go to second because he's going to try to steal. And it's fun to watch just as a fan, you know, looking for something entertaining. I like that kind of baseball. And so he's been, along with other guys on the team, very aggressive in that sense. And it's been indispensable, especially like you said, Jules, his ability to play multiple positions while there have been many injuries and COVID and all this, like it's invaluable. And if he can just hit like even just a little bit, like what he's shown, he'll stay in the majors for a very long time. He'll be an important member of the Yankees for a long time. It's just what we always knew, that he had the ability to affect the game with his speed and play all these positions, but he just never hit. And so we never thought he should have, you know, lasted as long as he did. But now that the bat has come around, we just have to hope that, you know, this is closer to the player that he's going to be for the rest of his career or the rest of his time as a Yankee. And he'll stick around and it's fun to watch.
Yeah. I mean, when you really think about it, the fact is the Yankees have always kind of wanted Tyler Wade to sort of be their Ben Zobrist and play the third base and play the outfield and be able to come in late in the game for a defensive replacement. But the one thing that Ben Zobrist had was maybe he wasn't always the best hitter on the team, but he was a good hitter on every team that he was in.
He was
somebody that you could, that was an all-star and you could expect big hits from, clutch hits from, and the opportunity to give you a chance to win whenever he plays. And right now, Tyler Wade is doing that. He's getting on base. He's walking. He's swiping bags. He's getting hits down the line, and he's playing good defense wherever he is. So for the 4 weeks that he has needed to do that, while G. Rochelle has been down, while Gleyber Torres has been down, while they've had some uncertainty in the outfield or needed some late game replacements, he's done exactly what you want and what you needed from him. And now everything else is just, free innings, I guess you could say.
It's house money.
Yeah, it's house money.
But you can also just tell with Tyler Wade when you're watching the game, like when he steps into that box, how confident he is.
Yeah.
And of course, when you get on a roll there, you're going to be more confident. But I mean, yeah, it's great to see because again, we want these guys to do well. And I think he's hitting 455 over his last 15 games, actually. So he's been kind of hot since mid-July. So it's great to see.
The other guy that we have to discuss, obviously, storyline-wise right now for the Yankees might be the biggest storyline, maybe not even just for the team, but one of the biggest storylines of baseball, and that's Andrew Velazquez. They brought him up the day Gleyber got hurt. So obviously in the series a few weekends ago, Gleyber winds up getting hurt. He winds up hurting his thumb. He's not able to play. We're all set and upset. I think it was the White Sox series, right? So it was the end of the White Sox series, and he comes in, Andrew Velazquez, this hometown kid. And look, for him, you kind of maybe thought what you might be getting. He had been in the majors before. He had never really produced. It was a good story. The Yankees allowed him to come over to the organization and sign the kid, played in their minor league system, plays a good defense, maybe gets a hit here or there, and then also had led the majors in stolen bases, something we had talked about the last time that we talked about him on the pod, or the minor league organization in stolen bases. But the fact is, from the Boston Red Sox series last week, this kid has been electric. He has not only gotten hits, he's got clutch hits. He's done a great job leading the bottom of this offense in whether the 8 spot, the 9 spot, depending on where he's playing. And he's in the same way that Tyler Wade is, getting big hits and getting on base and swiping bags and leading the team with his defense. That's what Andrew Velazquez has been doing. And there were some plays last week with his glove that honestly, if he doesn't make, you don't know whether or not that would have been in trouble for the Yankees, especially that last play of the Boston game that he was able to make that incredible stop going to his right, going to his right, our left. And then he also had a big home run in that series this weekend against Minnesota, some big hits in the game versus Boston. So this kid who grew up a Yankee fan, is from the Bronx, is staying with his parents right now in the Bronx as he goes to the game, playing the hometown hero. That's all you can ask for.
For as good as we just said Wade has been, Velasquez is now playing every day ahead of Wade. They are like keeping Velasquez at short, and they're sprinkling Wade in here and there at some other spots around the infield and in the outfield a little bit. And for me, this is the number one story for the Yankees this year. And it's only been like a couple weeks, a week of him doing this.
Yeah. Because he wasn't that good when he those first few games where he came.
No, he was awful.
Yeah, he looked like a guy who
he was a
glove. He was a glove.
Yeah.
He kind of looked like Jonathan Davis in a way, because Jonathan Davis can't hit at all. But anyway, yeah.
Yeah, no. But that's what it felt like the first few games. And you're like, okay, like whatever. He's going to play defense, and hopefully
he'll get a game at Yankee Stadium. That'll be cool.
Yeah, and hopefully the rest of the lineup will produce, and then eventually he'll go back to Scranton or whatever. And now you're at the point where you're saying to yourself, okay, well, Gio Urshela is rehabbing, and Glaber's, not far behind him. What are they going to do when those guys come back? And now, again, this is the big thing. Like, we don't have to worry about this because it always works itself out. But still, you can't help but let your mind go there. I honestly don't know the answer to that question. And watching him, hit that home run, what was that, Saturday, was, awesome. It was awesome, just in one word. And it's been really cool to see that, because you kind of, when you grow up a Yankee fan, like, you kind of feel like you're living through him a little bit in a way. Like, every one of us probably at some point when we were young dreamed of doing what he's doing right now. And the fact that, he's from the Bronx, he grew up a Yankee fan, like, that whole thing, it's just an incredible story. And I don't know how long it's going to last, but, I'm very, appreciative of it now in the moment. And I hope that he has a role in the team going forward for the rest of the season. And hopefully, if they get to October, that he's part of that too, because I think that would be really fun for him. And listen, like, it's not just a good story because he's helped them win games. Like you said, he's come up with big hits. He played great defense. Those Red Sox games, like Luke Voit, as good as he was, Velasquez was, almost as good. And so, yeah, it's just been incredible. And E-Ray, earlier you said, when we were talking about the trade deadline, like, are there two moves that this team can make that will get them back into contention? Like, no, the answer was no, but we didn't expect Rizzo and Gallo and then to get contributions from the guys that we've been talking about. And another guy we'll get to in Nestor Cortez. Like, this has been not just the two trades. All of these things have come at the right time.
Yeah. And Velasquez, man, he's on that magical run. And like you said,
it's like Jeremy Lin.
Yep.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah. He's kind of on that type of run. And
Linsanity.
I don't know how much this can continue, but right now I think Velasquez understands. So when you hear him post game, like, I think when he hit against the Red Sox, he had like a big speech, and like the team was like, he's a big part of this team right now. And again, I think it might end when these guys come up. Maybe he'll be back September because there's some roster situations, but he knows, like, right now he's living the moment, man. He's going out there every day and he's just living his dream, playing the game he loves for the New York Yankees. So as long as he contributes, that's all you can ask for. And you mentioned that home run on Saturday, and I think I joked, but I was kind of serious. I kind of teared up a little bit when they saw his parents and probably his parents and grandparents, his family in the stands. They were crying. I'm a big crier. So it's I am. I'm a big crier. So when I see other people get emotional, like, I get emotional, man. That was an emotional moment. It was his first run, right? In literally 4 years, because I think he was with the Rays in the major leagues. But yeah,
that was his first big league homer.
Yeah, first, and I think the fan gave it back to him with nothing. Shout out to that Yankee fan. No, it's just a magical run, and if this continues and it helps them make the playoffs, because that's the goal, and hopefully win. But no matter what, like, we're gonna remember the Andrew Velasquez. He's going to be part of those, like Sean Chacon or like Aaron Small in 2005, or like, so I can't think of any other guys, but yeah.
Two things. Thing number one, the speech that he discussed, which was awesome, was that he had dreamt of what Yankees Red Sox series would be like as a player, and that this was better than anything he could have dreamt. Obviously incredible when you think of a kid who grew up a Yankee fan, hated the Red Sox, loved the rivalry growing up, especially since he's around our age. He grew up during the height of those years with the Boone walk-off and 04 and all that stuff. So And then number two, I'm sorry. I don't care how good of a guy you are as a ball player. You can't give that ball back without getting anything back for nothing. That's what the story said. It wasn't like, oh, he said nothing, but they gave him stuff. He didn't have miscarriage of justice. You need to ask for something back. I'm the nicest guy ever.
I'm asking for something.
Yeah.
I mean, listen, like if that's me, I'm not going to give the Yankees a hard time. I'm going to say you could, I want him to get the ball back, but
I need something.
But can I get whatever it is, an autograph, a picture, whatever? Like that's, I'm asking for that, but I'm not giving them a hard time. But like, I agree.
My base is at a minimum Legends tickets for a game. And then get to meet the player who you give the ball back to. That's a minimum. If they can't do that for me, for me giving this ball back, I don't care who the player is, then I'm keeping the ball.
I agree with you. I agree with
you. That's just my philosophy on the situation. Let's get to the next player because we have a little bit of a big series to preview before we move on in the pod. But the next guy is a guy who not only is been instrumental to the New York Yankees rise back to the top parts of the standings, but really is just the swag king of New York. And that is Nestor Cortez with his mustache and with his goofy stuff on the mound. He is the Yankees' quirky ace, and he has been every second of what the Yankees needed from a guy who they can give the ball to every fifth day and don't need to worry about it, because that is essentially what he has been over the last month and a half, 2 months.
Yeah, I mean, he's crept himself into the conversation of who's getting a playoff start if they're in the, in the division series. And like, you're kind of crazy if you don't want him involved in that somehow, I remember like what he got called up in like June or so, or maybe it was late May. And, he was used in mop-up duty, long relief, stuff like that. But he pitched so well that, he sort of elevated himself higher up onto the, circle of trust. And then injuries happen and he's starting games. And then, he's opening games. And all of a sudden, this guy's pitching in the 5th inning and he's not giving up runs. And then all of a sudden, he's going into the 6th inning. And then last weekend, he's pitching it, he's, into the 7th inning, 2 runs, 7 strikeouts. And you're like, okay. Like this, he has a 2.5 ERA. He's been it's been long enough of a time to say that, it's probably not a fluke. And, everyone knows how much I love Garrett Cole, but he is so much fun to watch, like even more so than other guys, just because he's so different from everyone else.
Nasty Nate.
Nasty
Nester.
Like the funky wind up, the weird sidearm arm angle that he'll give you at times, or the quick pitches. Like it's old school, and it's cool how
he's
different.
A character, man.
Yeah, and he kind of fits. Like he fits the part that he plays as a player, and it's awesome. And the contribution is, I mean, irreplaceable. I don't even know where they would be without that. And that's just another guy that. Like when you say to yourself, the Yankee, in the beginning of July, the Yankees are going to need a pitcher, an outfielder, or whatever. Like, okay, but yeah, but Nestor Cortez is the pitcher, Luis Gil is the pitcher. Like these guys that came from nothing, came from nowhere, that we didn't see, factoring in, are very important. And like you talk about all these guys that we've talked about so far, the number one person on the list in terms of their contribution meaning the most to the team is Nestor Cortez, because they're now 4 starting pitchers deep, and they still have Kluber on the mend. They still have Herman on the mend. So like Sevy maybe, but whatever. Like maybe he's in the bullpen. Maybe we don't see him, whatever. But like the point is, like the Yankees are 4 starters deep, 5 starters really with Gil. And Nestor Cortez is, having as good of a season as any of them.
Yeah.
Guys, I bought a Nasty Nestor shirt. That's how much I believe in this guy. And how can you not? I mean, you see it a couple games ago where all the pitchers were wearing their Nasty Nestor shirt.
Except Garrett Cole, apparently.
Yeah.
I think Garrett Cole was wearing it earlier, but I saw him with it on, but for the picture he was. I know that maybe
it got all sweaty or something. It was hot.
I'm surprised Chapman wasn't already sweating in it. That's probably his third shirt he was wearing. But yeah, man, dude, the Yankees starters have a 2.85 ERA in their last 42 starts. What?
They have one of the best. They have one of the best pitching staffs in baseball.
Yeah, and that's why they are back to where they are right now. So hopefully it just continues. But man, what is like again, like you said, Josh, everything works itself out, and so far, the COVID situations were not great at the time, but it's opened our eyes to, Luis Gil, giving Nestor Cortez more opportunities to pitch and shut people down. It's just, he's so quirky when he pitches. It's what does he throw? Like top 91, 92 miles?
He averages, I think his fastball averages a shade under 91.
You know what I love the best about him is like, he just throws strikes, man. He's not like, people are going to hit it, but he's not afraid of contact. And that's what you like. I can name some other pitches where they're freaking just throwing balls all over the place and walking pitchers, batters. But man, Nestor's been a sight to see. It's been fun.
I was listening to Talking Yanks this morning, and Trevor Plouffe was on today, and he was talking about Nestor, and he was saying like the reason why he's effective is because he's so different from other starters that players are used to facing, that he makes you think as a hitter, he makes you think, and the last thing you want to be doing while you're hitting is thinking. Because you don't want to get so far into your head. And he said that's what makes Nestor so effective, is that he's so atypical that you have no choice but to start to question everything. And he fools people.
It's almost as if when you face a knuckleballer, you have to worry about where the pitch is going to go, and that makes you uncomfortable at the plate. Well, just take the emotion of facing a knuckleballer and put it with somebody who actually knows how to throw the ball. And that's almost what you're getting there. Somebody who, like you said, like Trevor Plouffe mentioned, is going to make you earn your at-bats, because you're going to have to understand what it is that you're going up there and facing. And that's a huge, huge benefit. The other guy you guys both mentioned, and we should briefly bring him up because he has been that good and he has deserved recognition, is Luis Gil. It was a few weeks ago that he had that first start against Baltimore that you and me and E-Ray Josh said, let's hope he's good. Didn't have that overwhelming of numbers in the minors. In fact, he wasn't really that awesome, but now he's the first major league pitcher in history to have those first couple of starts and go 15 plus innings in his first major league starts and not give up a run. He's like dominant doing it. Has unbelievable stuff, high power guy. And for the Yankees, they kind of were expecting Luis Severino to maybe come back this year. Well, if you don't get to see Sevy and Luis Gil's the guys making the starts, you kind of got what you hoped you would have been able to get if Sevy made a late comeback, which is a guy who can give you a bunch of wins, give him really good wins at really big moments, and throws high 90s and has some great shutdown stuff and just makes major league hitters look uncomfortable.
He's been awesome. And, hopefully we get to see him some more. I know with the fact that he was a COVID replacement and an 27th man last week in the doubleheader against the Red Sox, that there's been a lot of weird roster stuff with him. So
he got screwed yesterday. He was supposed to start, but the hurricane
he was supposed to start yesterday, and then the storm happened, and they're skipping him. So hopefully we'll get to see him. He's obviously earned it. We'd obviously rather see him than Andrew Heaney, but there's always more at play than just the simple stuff. Like, Heaney has no future with the team, so the Yankees are just going to use him until his arm falls off, pretty much.
But he threw 7 innings.
But he was good last time, so
I almost collapsed on the floor.
He earned another start. But the point, we want to see Gil. And listen, the bullpen has been a problem. Like Chad Green, Zach Britton, Chapman, they've all been an issue for a while now. And I'm starting to think, like I said, ahead to the playoffs, and I'm looking back at how the Nationals won a World Series where they would use starters in relief. And I'm starting to think that the Yankees maybe could go that route, should they have the pleasure and the privilege of getting that far. But Gil is one of those guys who we would love to see him start a playoff game, because he's 23 years old and he's going to be here for a while. But he's somebody that you could, 1
inning and then have AJ Half come in.
He's somebody who you could
fly him in from Minnesota, and then
he's someone that you could see, I think, pitching out of the pen in September and, important games. And
absolutely.
And either way, I think he'd be effective. So listen, we have nothing bad to say. How could we have anything bad to say about any of this right now?
He is,
Yeah.
it'll be crazy. So Luis Gil is pitching tomorrow in AAA. Like, imagine he just gets shelled.
His AAA numbers were bad.
Yeah, it is. I think like I think I read somewhere where sometimes I don't know, he like he looks ahead of himself, like to motivate him. So maybe that's why he was so motivated in the major leagues. I mean, yeah, man, like he's been electric, and I wish he was pitching in Atlanta. But we kind of expected last week when Heaney actually pitched well that he was going to more spot. I think if Heaney like shit the bed last week, I think it would have been maybe healed.
Maybe.
Or maybe not. I don't know. Like you said, they might just be throwing out Heaney no matter what.
But also he was supposed to start yesterday. And look, the fact is with the rain, it's stinky. It's just we want him as much as you can, especially when you consider that the alternative is that the Yankees don't bring him up again, and then he has to go through the rest of the year either pitching in the minors or you never know what happens next year. I mean, we used Deivi Garcia's name a lot on this podcast in recent months as sort of the telltale of what could go wrong because he's been so bad in the minors. But, us three don't really want that to happen. And, the fact is that Gil has been every bit as good as any starter they've had this year during those 15 innings. You'd be hard pressed to tell me anybody other than Cole has put together 15 plus competent innings that look like him. Nestor probably too, but to also do it while throwing 98, to have the shutdown stuff. He didn't really walk a whole bunch of guys during those first couple of starts. And then, he helped do it against the Boston Red Sox and a couple of other big starts that he was able to make in order to help the team win. It's like he deserves it. And you hope that once September rolls around and they have the expanded rosters and you see how that sort of works, that every one of the guys who they're probably going to have to send down for at least the end of August, once they get a little bit healthier, whether that is Andrew Velasquez or whether that is Luis Gil, that they're able to help them out when they move forward. As far as some house cleaning before we kind of move past that, Zach Britton got put on the IL today, so the Yankees are going to have a bullpen opening. He had a left forearm sprain, so that's his throwing elbow, or a left elbow sprain. So that's his throwing elbow, which you don't want to see. And he had really not been that good in recent weeks. And then you guys both talked about this a little earlier, and E-Ray, you gave us some numbers before we went on the air. But Glaber going to start getting ready after having that thumb injury. Gio, he had that setback a few weeks ago, but now he's playing rehab games again, so we'll see when he'll be able to come back. Josh, you and I went to the game last week, and I said out loud to you that I really miss Gio and him being able to play third base and just how good of a third baseman he is. And then last but not least, Severino was making his quote unquote rehab starts a few weeks ago. Then he wound up feeling some shoulder soreness. They went to get a second opinion. I don't think since the second opinion, they've said what is going on with it. But I wouldn't expect to see him anytime soon, but I think we might expect to see Corey Kluber in the near future.
Yes. I think Kluber seems, he hasn't pitched well in his 2 rehab starts. He's got another one. I believe it's tomorrow. If not tomorrow, then Wednesday. So he seems to be getting into the swing, and I expect that we will see him at some point in the next couple weeks. I think Urshela will see soon as well. Like you mentioned, his rehab started yesterday. He was 3 for 4 in that game down in Somerset. So yeah, it looks like, some of these guys the cavalry is coming back even more so than it already had with, Rizzo coming back from COVID and some of those other injuries like Clay Holmes is back too. So yeah, we'll see how it goes. It'll be interesting if this all does come to fruition, what happens with the roster. Again, that stuff usually works itself out. With Sevy, it seems like it's a little bit of a mystery that his shoulder was barking. So that, makes you nervous because how many injuries now has it been in a short amount of time? But I think if we get anything out of Sevy this year, it'll probably be out of the bullpen, which, to be fair, they could use, especially with the Britton news.
I agree 100%. So that's what's going on with the housekeeping from the injury perspective. And then for the prospects perspective, Anthony Volpe, the Yankees' new number 1 prospect. He passes Jason Dominguez because he has just been absolutely tearing the cover off the ball, which, you know what, I'm a little happy about. Let's keep Jason the Martian under the radar. So that way, when he explodes onto the scene as our new center fielder, we can all be hyped about what he can do.
Yeah, I mean, listen, like it's shocking to see Volpe leap above Dominguez because the hype for Dominguez is insane. He's barely played and whatever. Volpe,
he was in the Future Stars game.
Yeah, and
Volpe, I don't think made it there.
He wasn't, and he wasn't. I don't
he
think
wasn't anywhere. He wasn't even like Charlie,
you know,
or something.
Yeah, I mean, he was obviously he was a first round pick, so it's not like he was a complete, nothing, name bum. But like this wasn't expected, and I don't think it was expected this quickly because he was drafted in 2019, and last year there was no minor league season. So
he honestly, he's been killing it so much in high A right now. He could have probably been in double A,
but they have Peraza.
No, Peraza is another prospect who's killing it right now. So, and with like, they don't want to get these guys called up so quickly because of all the stuff. So, but yeah, I mean, he's been killing it, man. I think he had I saw one of the video, the walk-offs last week or something. His swing is
oh yeah,
his swing is pretty, and I'm excited, man. For hopefully, again, he can keep it going.
It's humorous because I feel like several times on this podcast we've discussed, are they going to keep Gleyber at short? Are they going to go out and get Seager this offseason? Are they going to move Gleyber to second base? Well, look, the fact is, at least in the foreseeable future, between Gleyber, between Peraza, between Anthony Volpe, between the potential of maybe being able to go out there and sign Seager, the Yankees do have a lot of options when it comes to what they're going to do at the shortstop position, but we can't speculate too much about that. It's all going to be sorted out in due time. At least in the short term, though, it's going to be Andrew Velazquez until Gleyber comes back, and then you'll have Gleyber return to playing shortstop regularly, which leads us to the conversation that we need to have before we wrap up the podcast, which is previewing the week ahead, because without a doubt, this weekend is the Yankees' biggest series of the year. And ironically, it's not against Tampa. It's not against the Boston Red Sox. It's not against the Toronto Blue Jays. It's about a head-to-head matchup with the Oakland Athletics out in Oakland. So a road series that is going to challenge them. And you heard here, I mentioned it already. They're playing the Braves beforehand, a 2-game set, which they're already in the process of playing right now. Last they checked, it was 1-1 in the Monday game. Then they'll play Tuesday before they travel and head out west for that big matchup against Oakland. And look, they need to win 3 out of 4 against the Oakland A's, because if they have any hope of keeping Oakland and keeping the Red Sox at bay and competing to try and win a division with the Tampa Bay Rays, they need to start taking care of business and keep their big lead atop one of these 2 wildcard spots.
Absolutely. I said to you guys yesterday, I think that these games against the A's are the biggest games of the season up to this point, because of where the two teams are with each other. The like you said, Jules, like they have to win. I think they have to win the series just to, make sure that they continue to grow their lead in the wild card race, but also to make sure that they keep Tampa within striking distance, but also hold off the Red Sox. And so, yeah, I mean, it's scary because when they go out there, they usually don't play well in Oakland. And these are games that they have to have. And, we're getting close to September. So, I mean, we'll have our better pitchers lined up to face them. So that's good. Like we'll have Cole there. I think we'll have Cortez and Tyone as well. If it lines up correctly with the day off. So they haven't officially announced that, but I think I'm just doing math in my head that works out. So yeah, I mean, listen, it's a scary time to go out west this late in the season.
Especially with Oakland, who's a good team, because at the end of the day,
yeah,
they're not just pushovers, and they made moves at the deadline to try and get better as well.
Absolutely. And one of those guys was Starling Marte, who the Yankees were, we were looking at for the Yankees, and he's been a big help for them. Yeah, I mean, they played well against the A's in June when they came to the stadium. But obviously it's different now. The Yankees are a different team. The A's are a little bit different too. So big, important games for the Yankees ahead. I think ideally, we want to see them take 3 out of 4, but to be honest with you, if they split with them and keep things sort of on the same place that they are right now in the standings, I think we'll end up being okay with it. But obviously, we want to see them win the series. But the most important part of this all is just to make sure that you keep pace with what they are, doing right now in the wild card race. So if you take 2 out of 4, everything kind of evens out. So, but yeah, I mean, we got to stay up late to watch these games now.
Not
So
me.
I'm not happy about that. Not you, because you're overnight.
Not me either, because I'm going to be in Alaska.
Oh, that's right.
Oh,
So it's just
wow.
me. It's just me who has to stay up late.
It's the weekend, Josh. At least it's a week, not Thursday night. Thursday night.
I was actually going to say that I feel like I didn't get the true West Coast experience this year.
Yeah.
Because when they were on the West Coast last time, the Seattle games were not really that late. I think they had 2-day games in Seattle. And then the Angels game, they stunk so bad that I didn't really care about it that much. And now this one, I'm actually an hour behind them, since it's an hour extra when I'm in Alaska for the West Coast. So
it's early.
So I'm gonna be even earlier.
Wow. Let's all just go to Alaska when
and they're 9 o'clock games too. So
9:40.
So it's really a 5 o'clock baseball game as opposed to a 10 o'clock 5-hour swing. So
Jules is in happy land there.
I hit the jackpot with it.
No, but I mean, you guys both said it. Just continue to win series, and I just want to say the Rays. I mean, it's because they're facing the Orioles this weekend. So, we have that's probably 3 wins, honestly, for the Rays, because the Orioles have been so damn bad. I think they lost like 18 in a row or something like that.
They haven't won since the game we went to.
Yeah, of course, the one we went to.
With the cat.
Say also, Boston, Oakland, but you got the other teams too. But if you just win your games, it doesn't matter what the other team's doing. Like Seattle's 3.5, Toronto's 5 games. Toronto's been scuffling a little bit, but they do have 12 more games with Baltimore this season. So, yeah, no matter what, right now, you're at the top. You want to stay at the top of the wild card. If you're going to not win a division, you want the home game at the wild card game. So, yeah, man, just keep winning games, winning series if you can. But this week's going to be a tough stretch, especially the Braves.
Right now in that Braves game, it's still 1-1 in the middle of the 4th at the time we're recording this. So you hope they win that game, and then you hope you have an opportunity to get some revenge by winning that second game tomorrow before the day off and travel day. But Josh is right, because not only if splitting, you have an opportunity to break even, but after that, the Yankees have a 3-game set against the Angels, who they have fared well against this year out in LA. Then they return home. 3 against Baltimore, who right now Baltimore stinks. Literally, they have not won a game since that game that Josh, me, and you went to, E-Ray, and that was the cat on the field game. That was 21 days without a game win. They have been awful. So you play them for 3, then you have a 4-game set against Toronto before you play the Mets, Minnesota, and Baltimore, Cleveland, and then Texas. So all bad teams from literally the 3rd of September until the 28th of September. Outside of playing the Toronto Blue Jays, you play teams that are not good. Texas, Baltimore, the New York Mets, who are terrible right now. Cleveland, who is fine. They're not that great. They have had their own issues this year, though obviously the Yankees and them played tough series earlier. So win this series against against the Braves, then go out there and win at least 2 against Oakland, and you're in a pretty good space. And then we're talking about a September in which, hey, at a minimum, you have the opponents in line that can help you fatten up to get the wild card spot.
Yeah.
But hopefully put you in a spot in which you can be able to beat Tampa for the division.
Absolutely. That's it. Just, these games are big the next few, couple weeks or so. And then, like you said, they have a chance to, like you said, get fat. So keep, just like E-Ray said before, win your games and nothing else really matters. I think Erie's asleep.
No, I'm watching. So yeah, I mean, I have nothing else to say except my Papas of the week, and I'm going to give 2 because we didn't have last week. So of course, I think you guys probably know the names. We got to give it to the kid from the Bronx, Andrew Velasquez, as 1, and then you also have to give it to Luke Voigt, who is a man possessed right now. So those are my 2, and Josh won't give it 2 because it's my gimmick. So no,
Josh, do you think you did 2 just so that you don't have a chance to pick one of those people?
I do, but
don't I should give 2 though? We weren't here a week, and I create my damn.
I mean,
gimmick,
you weren't
so
here for like 3 straight weeks.
Oh,
that's fair. No. The 2 is fair. At first, I thought it was so that I wouldn't be able to give one, but then he said we were off for a week, so it makes sense.
No, you can give one.
I'm gonna give one. I'm not gonna give two, and my one will go to Nasty Nestor Cortez.
Okay.
For the
Those are
reasons
good
we already
three.
spoke
It's a
about.
good threesome.
I like that. Absolutely. So any final thoughts? Any juicy stuff to tell us about? It's still 1-1 in the game at the time that we're recording the podcast on Monday. But any other news or notes, E-Ray? You usually come in late.
I know, but not today. I didn't come prepared today with any random.
What's happening on Twitter? Anything?
Nothing really.
Just people talking about the games?
Yeah, it's just a game. There hasn't been any like cool nuggets or anything that I've seen.
All right. I like that.
I don't got anything.
I dig that. All right. Well, that's pretty exciting for
Oh,
us.
actually, I do have one thing.
Oh, wow. See?
No, it's not with us though, but it's the Pirates, I think, sent down what's his name?
This isn't a Pirates podcast.
Boy Park?
So, you know.
Yeah, I know, but it's related. Yeah, they sent. Oh, and Mike Ford got designated for us, but
he got picked up by the Nats.
So
Okay.
there you go.
Mike-
Another former Yankees
related?
news. Larry Rothschild was the pitching coach of the Padres. He got fired today. I think we covered all the ex-Yankee news.
That's our thing now, a new thing. Ex-Yankees
Yep.
around the block.
Yeah. So Larry Rothschild is out of a job, and then Mike Ford was out of a job, and now he's back in a
We're all
job.
rooting
Boy
for
Park
Mike
is down
Ford,
in the
right?
minors. So
I can't believe that
we'll
guy.
see, we'll see what winds up happening. But for now, there is not a lot of New York Yankees news, and let's hope they take care of business and get the job done against Atlanta, and then get the job done against Oakland. That's going to do it for us here inside this episode of Our Little Yankees podcast. As always, you can listen to brand new episodes of the pod wherever you find podcasts. That includes Apple Podcasts, Spotify Pod. We're on TuneIn. We're on SoundCloud. Wherever you listen, though, make sure you hit us. Give us a 5-star rating. Give us a review and subscribe so that way you can keep listening to OLIP each and every week. And then we're also on YouTube, and you can follow us on Twitter at Our Little Yanks Pod. It's always exciting, folks. For Josh Levin, Eric Ray Sepulveda, I'm Julian Coltree. We'll catch you later. Go Yankees.